Welcome to Countdown to Infinity, a Marvel's Avengers podcast. We talk all things MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
We do.
And although there was actually something cinematic, i.e. it was in cinemas, in Thor, Love and Thunder, which we just recorded and I think released our spoiler-free discussion. More to come later on about that. We are talking and almost wrapped up with our episode-by-episode conversations on Ms.Marvel, the Disney Plus series.
We are talking, yes.
This is the penultimate episode, episode 5, Time and Again.
Yeah.
Almost over. This is it feels a lot different. More different? No, that's a double negative.
More different.
Wait, can you say that? This feels
I think
different.
So.
This definitely feels different from the other apps.
It feels It feels the most different.
The most differentest. Yes. That's what it is.
Uh-huh.
We'll talk about it. My name's Manuel.
My name is Sofia.
And we're not good at grammar.
No.
Or I'm not.
Yeah.
You're good at grammar.
I mean, it depends on the situation. Right now, no.
Okay,
when I'm
good.
teaching, yes.
It's a good thing we talk, huh?
Yeah,
Good thing
for a living, huh?
Yeah, we write and talk and all that stuff. But we're talking about episode 5.
Yes.
It's, I gotta say,
This is really, I mean, I don't know how many times I've said this, but this is probably one of my favorite episodes.
it's a very cool episode.
It is.
There's one thing I worry about.
What?
And that is the fact that we only have one episode left.
You're such a worry wart.
And there's just a lot. Like the department, we've
There's a
left
lot.
New Jersey and all of that stuff in New Jersey.
Yeah.
We have not visited in a while. But anyways, this episode takes place in the past.
Yes.
It takes place during the partition, and that's mostly thanks to the writer Fatima Asghaf, who is, I think, personally, her family experienced a lot of the things that we're seeing in this episode. I speculated at the end of the last episode where we saw Kamala Khan in the past, whether it was a vision. It seems like it's IRL.
Yes.
And we're actually experiencing it. But Sophia, what did you think about this episode?
I thought that there was a lot of explanation to some of the questions that we had. So I am really happy that we got to see her family side of things, especially Aisha's side of things, because from what we know, she is the first clandestine to be here in our world or in the world back then in the 1950s, 40s?
I don't know.
60s?
I don't really think they talk about how long they've been here.
At the beginning, they talked about I'm saying for us, our timeline.
Yeah.
I think it was the 1940s, 1950s, where she pops in. She's like, oh, hello, everybody. And they were going through the partition and stuff. So I've been wanting to see how she managed to kind of blend into society and to see where she fits and everything. And I think this is a beautiful story. I really do. I think that she definitely had more of a emotionally driven experience, just because of how her life ended up playing out, versus what the others went through, because I'm sure that they spent a lot of time trying to find her and a lot more difficulties managing the world around them, versus her who got a chance to settle down and kind of fall in love, have a baby.
Yeah, it's seemingly like Romeo and Juliet.
Almost.
Kind of, star-crossed lovers. She's got magical powers. She's mysterious, and there's someone who's being really kind to her during a time of political upheaval in India.
Yes.
And I mean, she basically leaves the other clandestines behind.
Yes.
And they're trying to, regroup.
Also, she's gorgeous. Okay.
Oh, the actress playing her? Yeah,
she's gorgeous. Love.
It's a love story, I think, that is told very separately from from Kamala Khan's up until a certain point. We're experiencing this for a large part of the episode.
And we honestly didn't know about a lot of this because the original story that Kamala's dad said just had to do with the partition. It didn't really have to do anything with the backstory.
And
of,
it makes
how
sense,
they
right?
met.
The chaos of the time when people were leaving to go to the newly formed Pakistan.
Right.
There's a lot of I would say hearsay and almost legend to what has happened, and especially when it comes to her grandma and what she experienced at the train station, which we find out a lot more about. But then Najma comes into the picture, kind of
and messes things up as she does.
a very cutthroat, gives some deadlines. And it's kind of, I mean, she's very much in charge of the clandestines still in the past. And it seems like she's very
with the same goal in
commanding.
mind.
Yeah.
Just wanting to go home and that's it. Like none of this should have gotten in the way. For her, it seems like a hurdle, right? Like just jump over it, get over it, whatever, let's go.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's different for Aisha because she fell in love.
Yeah.
Like, you know what, Najma? Maybe it's just because you weren't as lovey-dovey. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there is, and then Kamala gets, involved.
Yes.
At the train station when they're leaving. And it's one of the things I think that I talked about last episode was, hey, this could be a vision or it could be a Back to the Future type. You are your own hero.
Yes. Yeah.
Her grandma talks about seeing a light and then being,
well, she saw the stars.
She saw the stars.
She saw that her mother
saves, being saved at the train station. And a lot of people think she's crazy. And then we realize it's actually, it was Kamala the whole time.
Yeah.
And I can read into this. I don't know if this is kind of after the fact looking at it or if this was like purposeful, but it's really interesting in terms of what an immigrant story is like, because I'm sure if you're, first generation immigrant, the fact that your kids, your grandkids kind of save you, just in the metaphorical sense.
Yeah.
And here it's literal. But it's a pretty interesting. And what is I'll look it up, but there's also something that's written on the bangle. Do you remember what it is?
Oh, yes.
Like
what you're seeking is seeking you or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. And it's pretty interesting because it fits perfectly with Aisha's story because she was looking for a home, basically to go home, and she finds one,
right
there.
Well, I mean, she even says like to her husband, I'm so sorry, Hassan, I think his name is. She tells him like, well, we can be anywhere and be a family anywhere because they even contemplate leaving this community that they've built together with other members of their little neighborhood. But she was like, look, I am home. We are a family wherever we go. Like it's just gonna be us, and that's what she's happy with, and that's why they decide to pack everything and leave. And it's kind of the same for what Nani has been telling to Kamala. Like,
your
I've
family.
been searching for this, because she's had said that she was searching for herself and she was trying to figure herself out. But, it's just going to be your family and who you have with you.
I think that's going to be the biggest. And I mean, one of the crazy parts of this is, when she is back in the current time.
Next step.
It's immediately, Najma who has opened the veil. Like the veil is out there.
Yeah.
Things are crossing over. So it's almost like no stops for her. She's kind of running immediately to this. And then they find out that the Noor energy, at least, kills them. Like it's not going to let them come back home.
No. I mean, they were kicked out. So of course it's going to reject them, right? Like that's just how it is.
Yeah. And I think that there's going to be an interesting part here because I think what Kamala's learning is her family is her strength or what she needs to get through kind of finding powers and all that stuff and being magical.
Yeah.
And her mom knows, kind of, and her grandma for sure knows, but the rest of her family, I think, will be a huge part of that support system, whenever they do eventually go back to New Jersey. But what do you think about Kamran having the powers? Because Najma dies and transfers her powers to him.
Yes. And I think that first I want to talk about how beautiful that is because Kamala kind of mentions it to her, like, please don't do this. You have Kamran to think about. And Najma's like, you know what? You're right. And I think in order to transfer that energy, she has to feel that love or I don't know if it was love or if it was just like grief or it was just like, I don't know, like some sort of burden for her. I really don't understand the energy that she put into that. I really hope it was love because her very last words were Kamran. Like it's just, and in that moment, maybe because it's like a motherly energy being transferred to your child. Like
what a bummer, right? To like think that you're going to be able to go home, you leave your kid behind, and then you realize it's going to kill you.
But I mean, isn't that kind of like an immigrant story? In some instances, like families sacrificed all that they could in order for their kids to have a better life.
Yeah, I thought you meant like it kills you. I was like, what?
No. But I'm saying like if they want to sacrifice all that they can, they're gonna do everything that they can
to the
for
next.
their kids.
I mean, both of them do, right? Najma and Aisha.
Exactly.
So it's really cool. I am like. Kamran having powers was a huge part, I think, that a lot of people were looking forward to because he does in the comic books, but also we were unclear of that. Whether he did, I mean, he had a Porsche, which is kind of a power, huh? He can drive fast. But now he for sure has something that I'm sure we will unveil. But so much happens in this episode that's just context. So it's not so much that, you know, the plot stuff doesn't move forward that much. It just kind of gives you a ton of understanding of why a lot of this is important.
It's so significant.
It's like an emotional climax, I think.
It is, yes.
Kamala, her mom, and her grandma are finally on the same page, it seems.
I mean, can you imagine her having this conversation with Sana and Nani? Like, it's going to change so much. If she chooses to have this deep conversation about, like, oh my gosh, it was actually me, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's going to be...
I think her grandma knows at the end of this episode.
Yeah. And so, like, I'm saying, like, for them as a family to have it, it's so impactful.
It's going to be really important, definitely.
Yes.
I mean, this is going to be, and I'm kind of, you know, that's why I'm worried about the last episode because so much needs to happen in that episode. Does that make sense? And I really hope it's not super rushed because this show up to this point has been so great and so rich and so textured. There's all of these relationships.
So many
in
layers.
Kamala's life.
Yeah.
There's, of course, like the introduction of new dimensions and, you know, the red, we haven't even talked about, is it Red Flag? Is that what their name?
Yes.
Yeah. Like we haven't even talked about them so much, but they're introduced just in the last couple of episodes, you know, like, and I'm a little worried that the last episode is just going to kind of like speed past everything because there's a dozen things happening all at once. Like when was the last time we saw her best friend?
Oh, Red Daggers, sorry.
Oh, Red Dagger, yeah, not Red Flag, sorry.
No.
But yeah, Nadia? Naja?
Yeah, Nadia.
Like when was the last time we saw her? Bruno is in this episode for like 5 seconds.
The last time we saw her was when she found out that Kamala was Ms.Marvel.
Yeah.
Or not Ms.Marvel, but so that had powers. And and same with Bruno almost. Like he kind of just showed up at the end of this.
Yeah, Kamran goes to him.
And then Department of Control. Damage Control.
Kamran's kind of like, he
figured out Bruno's name was Bruno.
I know, but it's also really, I don't know. There's something about him in the apartment where Bruno's like, all right, and then tomorrow, you know, you can find a place. And he's like, no.
Yeah.
I'm staying here. And for me, I was like, okay.
When he said he was waiting for his mom, I was like, boy, she left you.
Yeah.
You know, and then now you have these powers, but like she's also MIA. Well, I mean, you know, RIP. But like
RIP, MIA, RIP.
MIA and RIP.
Me a rip.
But I feel like he's gonna have to find out at some point that she is, you know, no longer in our dimension, at least. I mean, maybe she got poofed into something else. I don't know. But I feel like that may change. I don't know if it's going to change some things with him, actually. Like, emotionally, what side. But I really hope that Bruno and him and Kamala kind of team up together because that would be, like, the ideal situation. I don't really remember what happens in the comics, but I'm kind of rooting for all three of them.
Yeah.
I hope Bruno doesn't go to Caltech, even though he's probably going to go to Caltech, but I hope he doesn't go to Caltech.
Do you think that this is the last we see of the clandestines? Because
No, absolutely not.
In this episode, all of them die.
No.
I'm saying in the next episode. Do you think there's more clandestines in the finale?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. Because who's the last one? Is Kamran's the last one, isn't he?
But I don't even know.
Now that he has powers?
He just has powers, I think. Like he's
just
not
a soup?
Yeah, because clandestines, they're like a group of people who are trying to, you know, alter and affect things, you know, at least in the comic book. So, and they've been here for hundreds and hundreds of years. So I don't think he's that, you know. It kind of seems like they're setting him up to be just a teenager with powers. Well, and then, of course, history.
But he also was, like, super old. I remember them mentioning his age. He was, like, 60-something or, like...
No, he's not.
No?
No.
He's not older?
No.
Oh, no, that's right, because they make the joke. Yeah, he's like, oh, no, just kidding. Like, I'm this age. Yeah, I remember that now.
So I think that we may not see the clandestines and there may be a showdown with the Department of Damage Control.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of seeing that there's this emotional arc for Kamala, especially with the theme of family, where her friends and family will be what saves her in the end.
Yeah.
But I'm just not sure what that looks like. We kind of end off this episode with Bruno's home being blown up.
Yes.
Which I assume everyone's going to be going back, to New Jersey at some point. And I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe Bruno and Cameron are like in custody or something. But it's been a pretty interesting show, I will say. Like to have the cat and mouse of clandestines kind of driving a lot of the action.
And then now it's not.
And now it's not. Like it may just be a rescue at the end with a lot of like family elements and stuff. But yeah, I mean it's there's a lot going on here.
Were you surprised that her mom didn't know or acted like she didn't know what was going on? Like Sana, whenever she saw like it was you, like when she put two and two together, did you think that was genuine?
Yeah, I don't think the mom was. No, I don't think the mom knew. I know in the comic books the mom kind of knows, but that's after a long time of her being as Ms. Marvel. This is different, of course. So I think that she's not lying. I think she was genuinely surprised. I think the grandma for sure knew because she had the bangle. But yeah, I mean, it's her dad. I think is gonna find out. I think her brother will. It'll be kind of an open secret, at least for their family and her best friends. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. Well, this episode was, I keep talking about how this episode is different, just partially because it's set in the past, but it's also one of the ones that isn't directed by the duo that directed the first couple.
Oh, yes.
And I don't know. I felt like I felt that. Like it wasn't as crazy ambitious in terms of the visuals of the first couple episodes where the camera is doing, it's upside down, it's slanging around. The graphics are kind of changing on the walls. There's like a very vibrant thing. But I don't know if it's because they're trying to tell this history kind of as it is and wanted to keep it really just plain and simple and
and emotional
and just super emotional and dramatic.
Yes.
But that's why I was like, man, this really does feel like a different ep, like the whole time.
Absolutely. And it made me teary-eyed just because of the sacrifice that Aisha does. I will say, like, it's done so beautifully and so, oh my gosh, I mean, the love between, or I shouldn't even say the love. I should say the chemistry between Hassan and Aisha is just so beautiful. And also, I mean, little baby Sana is so cute. Like the little girl that just kind of plays her as a youngin. And you can definitely tell how stressful and what a decision to make as a mother too, to like, because as the audience, you kind of put yourself into that situation and you think about like Aisha and like everything that she has to think of. Like she has to somehow convince her husband, which obviously like he knew something was wrong. I love that they put that in there. He was like, no, you need to tell me what's actually happening because we're running from something, but it's not like the political thing that everybody else is on board is going through. Like it's something even further. And he could totally tell that. Which I think is really significant because for her family specifically, like, yes, of course, like, everybody was leaving, but he could tell it was something much deeper. And I think I thought it was so beautiful.
And
it's such a good episode.
I mean, it may be messed up to say, kind of stole the show for me at least. The storyline, the kind of romance, and the danger, and of course, like the context of the partition, kind of made Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel, take a back seat, at least in this episode, because there was just so much, really melodramatic stuff happening with at least her grandma and stuff.
Great grandma too.
Yeah, her great grandma. Like it's kind of it's kind of an interesting choice because this episode was I don't know. It's very emotional, I think. And but I mean, once you get back, it's almost like they cut out of this other movie into the MCU again. Like here, and by the way, we still have giant sci-fi stuff happening. And so we're going to watch that now. And that's probably how the rest of the series will be. But I think it's cool that at least, we finally get the answer that she is the one that's kind of there's something really special about Comic-Con. Like beyond even just the powers, she does save her family, in like a very literal way through time travel. Like it's wild. Well, what do you think is left in this series? I mean, I worry about it, but one episode left. And do you ever worry that it's just going to be so rushed? Like it's just going to be, let him escape. Everything's okay now.
I really do. I'm not sure. I thought that the clandestines were kind of gonna guide the rest of the series.
Be a
and we were
huge
gonna,
part of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and we were
yeah.
gonna end with it. But to be honest, now I feel like it's more governmental and
The DODC, yeah.
political for the MCU because of the Department of Damage Control is now going to be involved. Obviously, also I don't know if it's like if what happened in Pakistan is going to carry through and like people are going to find out in New Jersey that are government officials. Does that make sense? Like I don't know who saw this and who is going to be
With
talking
Red
about
Dagger
it. Yes.
and the fact that
And also like the
Ms.
veil,
Marvel's
like
there,
it
yeah.
just kind of popped open, kind of in front of people. If they
Kind of side note too, we're slowly seeing Ms. Marvel collect her uniform
oh yes,
in a way, or
yeah.
her super suit or whatever, because Red Dagger does give her that scarf, which we know
Yeah.
is going to be part of her final fit.
Right.
Whenever that happens, probably in the next episode. But yeah. But you're right. That's a huge part of this because it seems like a lot of this was public, but maybe it's not actually because I think they're
really
just in a
don't know.
factory, right? And everyone's evacuated, but no one actually
Saw.
saw. So
I mean, well, they did because while they were evacuating, she had to hold up like a shield
Yeah.
or something to get them out. But
Yeah.
I mean, but again, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what's gonna travel.
it's hard because even in the context of Marvel, how important is this compared to the 10,000 other things probably
Yes.
happening?
And this is just in our universe. Like
And that's
you're-
like a Marvel problem more than a Miss Marvel problem. Oh man, that sounds weird. But like the MCU is really. I mean, we talked about how Hawkeye is happening in New York at the same time as Spider-Man: No Way Home.
yeah,
And
it's a lot to keep track
it's
of.
a lot to keep track of. So if you are a government, who knows? You may not have noticed anything happening in Pakistan. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's
It's really hard.
it's really hard. It's going to be a huge problem at some point.
But I do hope that she becomes more public with her powers. Not saying that she owns them, like publicly saying like, "Oh, it's me, it's Kamala." But I want her to go out into her community as Ms. Marvel. I'm hoping that there's some recognition there for her because now that she has a better understanding of who she is, who her family is, why she has these powers to begin with, like where they came from, and everything in between. Like I feel like she is going to have more ownership within herself. Not saying like that she's going to go out and display it, but I would want her to get more involved and kind
Yeah.
of, and especially now that Nadia knows, Bruno knows, like
Yeah.
everybody in her little circle, and her mom is finally aware of it. So her dad's probably going to be too. So maybe they can like collectively encourage her to change some things, especially within their own community.
And it's going to be at least in the comic books, it becomes very complicated with her powers and the way that people view her and her community. And especially when it comes to Kamran, who will have powers.
Yes.
And
Who does?
he's not, we don't know. It's the MCU. They can change things. But he's not necessarily a
Good guy.
good guy or a bad guy. Like he gets frustrated too. He kind of blames the
Department of
government, yeah, for everything that has happened to him, and he almost like very much doesn't want Kamala to use her powers to protect humans, or at least the people that don't like her.
I don't-
Because he's like, why are you helping these people if they're investigating you, if they're surveilling you, and it's going to be an interesting thing. But I just don't think we're going to even touch that in the next episode.
No,
Does that make
I mean,
sense? There's not time.
There's going to be so much if they do try.
Yeah.
I feel like either he's going to freak. I mean, they could or they could at least introduce it.
Yeah.
Maybe because he's grieving his mother, or like he's going to think that something. Because now all of the people who he was originally introduced with are gone.
Yeah.
So
he's on his own.
He's on his own. He is the last one. And so he could take that very negatively and then flip a switch and maybe be a bad guy. I don't
Yeah.
know. But I doubt,
He'll be
I
around
doubt
for a while.
it.
Yeah, and he's young enough.
But-
Like again, we're talking a lot about these young Avengers and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
this is definitely these are some of the youngest new characters in the
Mm-hmm.
MCU. So they'll be around for a while. I think one of the things that we'll talk about this probably after the finale, but it's just when is the next time we're going to see these people? Does that make
Right.
sense? Like we're going to love it.
Yes.
There's going to be a lot of to be continued from Marvel, and then they're going to be like, but we don't know if you'll see them for another 5 years, 8
Right.
years, who knows? Because
3
there's-
movies.
Yeah, because there's other things happening, We'll
Yeah.
for sure see Ms. Marvel because she's going to be in the Marvels, which comes out next year. But
Yeah.
everyone else, I want people to think about this. Like, you may not see them for a long time. So make sure to remember what happened because, you may not see Kamran for like
I mean, if not, it's going to be on Disney Plus, so you can just go back and
seasons
rewatch.
and seasons. We'll have to see what happens. But I mean, there's still a lot left to happen. There's definitely Department of Damage Control issues back in New Jersey.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't think we see Red Dagger again, but we're for sure going to see Kamala Khan and her family and extended family and friends. Maybe come together somehow to maybe protect
That's what I'm saying.
her identity, something.
I don't know.
Yeah. There's a lot. Yeah.
But I'm open to it.
Yeah. And I have a feeling, and I don't know if I like this or don't like this, but we're going to get more of those.
Do you think Bree's still going to show up?
Oh, yeah. I still think that's going to happen because they're in a movie together.
know.
They're in a movie together. They have to kind of talk about that. If it doesn't happen here, it's going to definitely happen in Marvel's, but they're going to meet, That's going to be wild. But
That's true.
I forgot what I was saying. No, I was going to say you're going to see a lot more, and I don't know if I'm into this. You're going to see a lot of those Department of Damage Control drones, I think, in the last episode.
Yes.
It's going to be a big drone fight, drone explosion.
Yeah.
type of thing.
Drones this, drones that.
Drones this, drones that, drones everywhere.
We get it.
We get it, okay?
We've seen it.
Drones are bad. But I guess let us know what you think is going to happen in the final episode, or just wait and watch it.
Just wait and watch it. See if you're right.
Because it'll be out. But we've come to the end of at least this episode. Sophia, what do you have to plug?
Just the same old things. Thank you so much for listening to us. And if you want to listen to anything else on the Dolphin Pod Network, you sure can. Or if you want to support us even further, check out our Patreon. Everything is going to be at Delphin Pod, DELFINPOD. And then if you want to follow me on any of my socials, you sure can. Everything's going to be at _Simply Sophie, SOFIEE.
Yeah, definitely support the Patreon. Keep an ear out on this feed. I believe tomorrow or the day after, we will have our full discussion on Thor: Love and Thunder with John and Andrew.
God, I
That's
wish
going
I
to
could be
be
on that.
a lot of fun. It's just, and I'm kind of, I actually like waiting. I mean, a lot of times people are like, why don't you release it right away? But I kind of like seeing what's happening, in a couple, the last couple of days have been really up and down for Thor: Love and Thunder. It's made a ton of money, but apparently a lot of people don't enjoy it. So we'll talk about some of that stuff too, and that'll come out in the next couple of days. But yeah, cool. Thanks so much for listening. One more episode for Ms. Marvel. Kind of crazy. We're already there.
Time flew by.
Time flew by. All right, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.